Someone asked me the other day if it's normal that even though you have forgiven someone, that relationship didn't go back to what it was before. So, let's talk about that. Remember that forgiveness and the restoration of a relationship are two different things. Forgiveness is not and should not be dependent on the other person. You have forgiven because you know it's the right thing to do, because you choose not to carry their offense in your heart anymore, and because you don't want to live a life with bitterness and resentment. Restoring the relationship is a bit trickier because it involves both parties, you and the other person, and both of you have to be willing to work on reconciliation and restoration. It requires more than just forgiveness. You need to rebuild a level of trust and communication to get it going. And that can take more time depending on how much healing you have received and your willingness to work on the relationship. This means that forgiving someone doesn't automatically restore the relationship. But what it does is that it opens the door for restoration if both parties are willing to do so. Before we continue, if you found this helpful, please click that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so you can be updated when I upload a new video. Now, do you have to restore your relationship with every person you have forgiven? The answer is not necessarily. There will always be people whom you might need to choose to keep at a distance due to their toxic or negative influence in your life. People who are consistently abusive and manipulative serve as an example of these types of individuals. You need to forgive them, but you might want to set certain boundaries to protect yourself from their negative behavior. It's important to understand that there's a difference between distancing yourself from someone out of bitterness and resentment and distancing yourself from someone for the sake of peace and growth in your life. When you're distancing yourself from someone out of resentment, you're just being physically distant, but you're actually carrying their offense in your heart every day. That's not good because you'll eventually lose more and more of your joy and peace over bitterness and resentment. However, when you choose to distance yourself for the sake of peace and growth, there's normally no resentment and bitterness involved anymore. By God's grace, you have chosen to forgive the person, you have chosen to let go of their offense, but you have come to a realization that having a relationship with them like before is just no longer healthy for you for this season of your life. The big difference here is that when you have forgiven, you come to a point where there is peace from your end. Even though you may have set some boundaries to protect yourself from their wrong behavior, you no longer have negative thoughts and ill feelings towards them. Or at the very least, you're able to better manage those negative thoughts and feelings so that they don't turn into anger and resentment again. Also with forgiveness, your heart is never completely closed to the idea or the possibility of restoring that relationship when the time comes that God leads you to do so. So as we end, if there are people in your life that you are choosing to distance yourself from, it's good to do a heart check and see if you are doing it out of bitterness and resentment, or are you doing it for the sake of peace and growth?